back. WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. We're keeping calm. We're staying completely local. Although next week the NFL is going to draft, and I am going to step out and be a little not local and talk a little bit about the draft and certainly the sports side of what I've always done here at WNST. But in these trying times of pandemics and crisis and slowdown, turning to all of our business friends and all of our partners as well. You know, last week I did not break out the Raskin Global hat or the shirt. This week I got the shirt on for Leonard Raskin. I've been working on these investments here. I've had them up on the set right underneath the Planet Fitness thing that I have up here. And I had you on last week, and it feels like there are no days, right? There's just the sun comes up on one side, it goes down on the other side, and the biggest question today is whether we're going to have pasta or rice, you know? But the market marches on, Leonard, right? And I guess for everything you're doing and people are watching their money and worried about their money, I'm worried about my money. Do I got a $1,200 check? Do I not? Is Wells Fargo calling me back? Do I have a PPP or is it in progress? Where am I for my employees? Where am I in my insurance? How did my 401k do? What did the president say today? All of that's going on, and we're all trying to wash our hands and wear gloves and get through the day here, but the markets are going on, right, Leonard? That's really probably the big picture of all of this is your bank account's moving every day, right?
Absolutely. Your assets are doing whatever they're doing on a day-to-day basis. Had an interesting conversation. Hope our listeners will appreciate this. It was a client 2 days ago, and here was the gist of the conversation. He was really concerned, obviously, given what the market's done to his 401k, what you're just mentioning. He said, this is my retirement, and I don't know what's going on. I don't know what I should do. I said, look, your asset allocation was built for all conditions. And if you have the proper asset allocation, when markets go up, you should be taking advantage of that. When markets go down, you take advantage of that. This should have been thought out before this ever occurred. And then the next thing I said to him kind of hit him. I think I said something that got the guy to just sit up straight and say, I got it. He's been worried and worried and worried. And I said to him, are you checking the value of your house every day? And he said, why would I do that? I said, exactly. Who cares what your 401k is worth today unless you're retiring and need to live on it tomorrow, like this week tomorrow. He's in his 40s. Come on. You got 20 years ahead of you. This will be fine. I don't know where the next 2% or 20% in the market is going to be, up or down. Nobody does. And anybody that tells you they do, you should run and hide. What we do know, without question, the next 100% is up. And here's what I'll tell you. If the next 100% isn't up, we got bigger problems than what our 401k is worth. Okay? It would be the end of the world. Was that REM? The end of the world as we know it?
And I feel fine.
Yeah, and I wouldn't feel fine, but I wouldn't be worried about my 401k, all right? So I said to him, you don't check the value of your house every day because you're not selling it.
Well, isn't that part of the
every day? Isn't
that part of getting mesmerized by it, that it literally lives on the app on your phone? Like literally,
Absolutely.
You see it in it's almost like looking at the weather, right? You see red and orange, it's 90 or 100. You see blue or light blue or white, you're going to be freezing your tuchus off, right? Literally.
Yeah, absolutely. But the problem is that's not investing. That's fear. That's anxiety. That's stress. That's bad money management. That's bad money attitude. And unfortunately, the media feeds it. The financial world around us feeds it. There's no reason to post the Dow Jones Industrial Average on the news every day. It doesn't mean anything. Nobody owns it. Doesn't matter. It's a directional sign. It's all it is a directional sign. So what? It went up, it went down. Are you buying today? Are you buying next week? Are you buying next month? What really matters right now for a lot of people, unfortunately too many people, is they don't have $1,000 in the bank in reserve, and they're waiting, as you said, for the government check to show up They're waiting for their stimulus or benefit check to show up because they need it to live. People are fighting day to day to get food. Those folks need that money, and unfortunately, that's the way we are, and they got to have it. But for those that have it, for those that are looking at their 401k, for those that are looking at their stocks, your plan should be ready for what's happening. If your allocation right now is light equity stock because the market's down, you should be adding to it. If it was overweighted stocks in January, February because the market was doing so well, you should have been selling and putting some on the side to take advantage of the upside and sell profit. That's what buying low and selling high feels like. And the hardest thing we have to do to get people to do is to understand that when things go down, you want to buy more of it in the equity markets.
Well, you think about anybody that walks in a casino when you're on the roll. At what point do you walk away from the table and say, I'm going to cash my chips in? And I think for anybody that was in the market that everybody was bragging about, 4 months ago, up. There's a lot of people that got numb to the fact that it ever went down in 2008 and 9, right? Like they forgot about all that, right?
Yeah, people forgot about 2008 and 9 and 2012. A couple of years after that's done and you're going up, you're not thinking about that again. And then 5 years, you're not thinking about it. And God knows 11 years, you're not thinking about it. So bad planning begets now a bad result. You rode the roller coaster straight up. God bless, you made a lot of money. But if you didn't take it off, sell on the highs, and reposition those dollars to safety, some of those dollars, your casino example, unfortunately, is too realistic for the market. People don't sell on the way up. They don't sell on the way up. They don't sell on the way up, and then they get crushed. Instead, what they should have been doing is they should have had, okay, I want to have, I don't care the number, 10, 20, 50%, whatever it is in short, fixed income, safe, cash value life insurance, short-term fixed income bonds, something that doesn't go down when the stock market goes down, something that doesn't go down at all guaranteed. And every time the market goes up and up and up, you peel off your gains, you lock them in. So go back to your casino. If I go in with $100 and I'm up 50, I put 50 in my pocket, I play with 100. I keep playing with 100, I'm up 100, I put another 50 in my pocket. End of the day, I walk out a winner because I peeled off my gains. I sold at the high. That's what you got to be disciplined to do in the stock market. The problem is it's more like a casino than an investment strategy, and people don't understand how to invest. So they make horrible decisions. They make horrible mistakes. And in the long run, they had a great 10-year run. Then they lose their money, and it's just, unfortunately, like the casino where the guy goes in with 100. He's up at 1,000. He leaves with 50, and he tells his friends he lost 50. No, he lost 950 because he could have had 1,000. He never banked any of his gains. Bad planning.
Leonard Raskin is our guest. He is Raskin Global. He has been a sponsor and a friend of ours for a number of years, and we appreciate him sticking around, empowering people to choose their financial future. And you've navigated these waters 4 or 5 weeks into this. One of the things that certainly has stood out is that the stock market in the Dow Jones was much more of a factor a couple of weeks ago when things were dip. It was awful. Then it comes back a little bit. And the fact that it hasn't completely fallen apart means that the world still believes we are going to come out of this pandemic at some point. I think the world is betting on it being sooner than later. I don't necessarily think that these football players we're drafting next week are really going to play football in September right now. I'll let you know that a little bit more in another month. I'll believe that when we get to May, maybe at the end of May, Memorial Day, I'd say, all right, maybe we can have a football season. Right now, I think all of that's very, very muddy to me. I think a lot of it's very muddy, but it feels like to the people that control the money, they don't feel like it's muddy. They feel like, we're going to snap out of this, and we're all going to have feel-good marketing. In August and September, everybody's going to want to go, spend. It's going to be the Roaring '20s all over again, just a century later.
Hey, from your mouth to God's ears, we can only hope, right? Here's what I'll tell you. The market is predictive, and absolutely a few weeks ago when everything hit the fan and governors across the country decided to shut everything down and business got squashed and unemployment is now through the roof. the market collapsed in a big way. And since then, it's had a chance to register a little. Surely the Fed is putting a lot of money into the system. The government's funding all kinds of programs for small business, for mid-sized business, now for big business, for individuals, unemployment. Some crazy numbers out there. I mean, right now in Maryland, you could make more on unemployment for the next 6 months than you could have in your job. Some people, 1.5 or 2 to 1. So it's going to be hard to get people to go back to work. But that having been said, the market says, yeah, we think this is going to pass. We think the country is going to open. We recognize some people, unfortunately, are going to be sick. Some other things are going to happen. I don't know if we're going to be sitting side by side at the Ravens game in September, but I would be personally surprised if they don't play football in the fall. I think bigger than the pro game maybe is the college game. I try not to predict the future. I know it's the hardest thing in the world to do. It's certainly difficult in markets. It's crazy difficult right now in sports. I think we talked about it the last time we were together.
Well, this isn't a sports conversation. It's a biomedical conversation, right?
No, I get it. But at the same time, this is a business conversation for these leagues. They're billionaires and millionaires. There's no question.
Well, Vince McMahon figured out how to wrestle this week, for crying out loud.
Right. I mean, it's money. And I saw, what was it? The Octagon. Talk to me. Help me.
MMA. He was going to do it on an island. Yeah.
The MMA was supposed to go this past week, and they didn't go, but they're talking about going first week of May. Dana White, right? He's ready to get out there and make it happen the first week of May. He wants to be the first one on the track, and he may be, and we'll see what comes. I think when we talked last, one of the things that befuddled my mind was the one sport I would think, and we talked about this before, that I would think would be first out, but they're not, would be golf. I think walking around in the sunshine, getting your vitamin D, hanging out outside, hitting the ball around without an audience is probably the most doable sport that I can think of.
Did you sit around and watch the Mickelson Woods thing over the weekend? I mean, my wife just had CBS on Saturday, and I'm sitting in the living room, and I hear, "Hello, friends." And I thought, I look up, and there's Jim Nantz.
And They did the replay of last year's Masters final round.
Yeah, I have not watched not one morsel, not one iota of any tape sport. And then the other thing I haven't done, and I know our competitors are doing this, is they're involved in this fantasy baseball thing that's like a computer-generated what really would have happened if the Orioles would have played this year. They would have stunk, by the way. But people are in all the simulated and esports. Matt Burke just fell in with an esports company. I'm going to get him on to explain it to me. I know Ted Leon's is into it, but I don't know, man. Your kid's like in a band. He does things. You know what I mean? Like sitting
I'm not into the E.
Yeah.
I'm not into the E stuff. I saw, well, my goodness. I think a NASCAR guy just lost his job.
He did.
Now, he was stupid.
Yes.
He was stupid, did something very horrible, but it was an esports thing. He lost his job doing an esports thing. But beyond that, I haven't watched a single one of those. I will not watch fake racing, fake NASCAR, fake Indy car racing, fake football.
Oh, but hang on. Did you watch like Throwback March Madness? Have you watched
nothing? No.
Yeah, I haven't watched any of this.
I will admit, I watched the last 4 or 5 holes of the replay of last year's Masters. Watching Tiger come in on 15 to 18 at Augusta was phenomenal a year ago. It was amazing this past week. And what captivated me about it was he was on with Jim Nantz doing the commentary. They were asking him how he felt, what he thought about this shot, what he thought about the guys ahead. His analysis of his play and what he goes through in his mind of he saw his caddy was looking 2 holes ahead at who hit the ball in the water and what that meant and how he should shoot because this guy did that and what the course and what the wind. And I just said, look, I claim to be an expert and at the top of my craft. And it was amazing to hear him be able to talk about what was going on while he was watching what he did. That to me was captivating. So I watched 4 or 5 holes of it. It was outstanding. Plus watching him come in and win that last year was just amazing. So it was good to watch again, but I'm not watching, what was it? the horse competition on ESPN, the e-basketball, the players are playing fake basketball tournaments. I ain't got time for none of that.
Fake basketball tournaments. I feel the same way. And look, man, sports is all I've ever done, right? Like, it's all I've ever built. This is a little time out that the gods have sent, where we need to all think about things a little bit differently in a different way. This is not the first time at the rodeo for me that I've had to make a detour or life has dealt me a bag of lemons and I got to figure out how to go to lemonade with it, and turn it into martinis at some point around the corner. Maybe some lemon frozen ice or some,
there you go.
Shave ice. And I don't even like lemons, by the way, and I do not like key lime pie, so don't send me lemon meringue maybe. But I think all of us here have gotten a lemon to some degree. I can't think of anyone, even Walmart's making money or doctors are getting extra hours and they'll put more money or whatever, and they're certainly putting themselves in harm's way in this incredible way, and psychologically what the whole of our society is going through and what will come out of on the other end. But I think really disruption, right, is the word for all markets in all ways. And whether it's sports, whether it's this draft we're going to go through with next week and pretend that things are going to go on, I do think there's a part where, like, you manage people's money. You ain't got time for pretending or fake anything. This is a real situation, and I'm a positive guy, but I can't come here right now and say if I had $1, that if I had to bet my fortune on the fact that the NFL is going to snap on time in September right now, knowing the very little I know about biomedicine and what I've learned from Dr. Lena Wynn, Baltimore positive alum who I see on TV, and all these Dr. Fauci's and Birx's and things that I see shared and fake news that I don't look at. I am concerned that this is much, much more of a long tunnel than it is a short bridge.
Well, as you said, I'm not a doctor, don't play one on TV, not an epidemiologist in specialty. I deal with people's money, finance, well-being, and their American dreams. And what I know is a lot of people are suffering pain right now. And I wouldn't bet, I'm right there with you. I wouldn't bet $1 or my fortune on the fact that the NFL would play on time. I'm hopeful they will. I'm hopeful things will get back to normal sooner rather than later, simply for all the reasons we talk about. I think sports is a nice release, and I don't say it that I want them to go out there, put themselves or fans in harm's way. I think the medical will certainly dictate what the world does to that extent. How big is it? How deep is it? How broad is it? What do we really need to do? I think there's 55 opinions about all the answers. In my world, they say if you put 10 economists in a room and ask them a question, you get 10 different answers. You put 10 financial advisors in a room, give them a set of facts, you get 10 different answers. I think right now you're certainly getting at least 10 different answers on what needs to be done to get us back open, back to work, back to the world. Those voices will coalesce, and at some point in the near term, they'll come together with something reasonable. I think as a country, as Americans, we've fought wars and battles, and this is another one, but I think we will come out the other side of this bigger, better, stronger. I don't know how soon it'll be, but I do believe we've got the fortitude and the attitude and more importantly, the what's the word I'm looking for? I'm grasping for it.
The will.
The will, the ability to fight this off. I think I don't know if I said it to you or to others, who knows. I can't think of a better time to be on the planet for this to have occurred than now. 100 years ago, millions are lost. It was.
Well, just the fact that we have the science to stay home right now, literally, and the ability to communicate while we're home right now.
The science, worldwide science, to solve this, to come up with remedy, to come up with vaccine, to come up with whatever it is that we need to do to deal with this and move on. I don't think it's going to be, the end of the world as we know it. I just don't think it is, and I think we're going to figure it out and solve it sooner rather than later, and then we'll look back hopefully in years in the future and say, remember back then in 2020, that was crazy. whatever it was. That was crazy. Remember that.
Leonard Raskin is here. I'm sorry?
I was going to say, I tell my son, one of the things I tell him is you should be journaling. You should be writing this down. You should be recording your thoughts. Put down, because you're going to look back on 2020 and you're going to say, I remember that, but you'll want to have notes about what you felt, what you remembered, what it was like, what this was.
Leonard Raskin is here, Raskin Global, empowering people to choose their financial future. I mentioned disruption and where this is. Sectors and markets that would come back first. We just on the sports side of things, you mentioned, I give golf a better chance than I do, football. And I give, smaller restaurants, that they'd have to distance more than a larger space, but on a cost basis of a bigger Cheesecake Factory restaurant versus a corner bar, what's going to come back first? And but along all of this, betting money on this, obviously airlines, right? I mean, moving people around and things that have been disrupted forever by this thing called Zoom, right? And connecting people that, I had Todd Marks on earlier. He's talking about drones delivering my pizza soon, that this disruption and this fact that, look, I got pizza companies already saying that no human hands touch my pizza, right? And that's
right.
a reason I want to order it. And that clearly started in Asia. Right? What we're seeing in Asia working in the aftermath of this is what's coming here. It's almost like watching California most of our lives, right?
It's kind of wild. You never know what's going to come out of this. You're right. It will be disruptive in a big way to a lot of industry. I can't imagine who's going to sign up on Carnival Cruise or whatever it may be. They're the first one I can think of. But the cruise lines and, as you said, the airlines, can't imagine you jumping on a plane with 8 seats, 6 seats across, and people in front of you and behind you, and God forbid somebody coughs.
Well, there's also no economic model to make that work, right? I do the simple math on that, right?
Whole new reality. Everybody's going to fly in a first class seat. It's going to be a different world in the air. And you're right. The Zoom and the GoToMeeting are going to change the way business gets done. I think it's going to change the real estate landscape and the commercial side. Let's face it. If you can work from home today, you can work from home tomorrow. And if you can be just as efficient or even more efficient, why do you need those thousands of square feet of office space?
Then do you need a car? Then do you need gas in it? Then do you need?
It's going to change it all. It's going to change it all. There's no question. This is going to ripple through with long-term repercussions on markets and on the marketplace. And I will tell you, we're doing a webinar a week, at least a webinar a week on things to think about. And this week's webinar is all about how to build a successful portfolio for the future. I can tell you right now, it's always been my opinion, and a lot of academics to back up the data. Impossible to choose stocks and long-term win in the financial world. Short-term, yes. Long-term, almost impossible. Picking stocks is a gambling, speculating situation with your money. And portfolios need to be built in a way to absorb this in the future. And I can tell you right now, if you're picking individual stocks that you think are going to come out of this the winner in the long term, good luck with that, versus building a diversified international portfolio to weather this and any future storm that owns a massive holdings instead of a few select that you picked that you thought were the right ones, because who knows which industry or which company is going to come out of this on top. The companies will. Which one? Nobody knows.
Well, it's obviously so sophisticated that trying to tackle it from your basement is, it's akin to trying to pick football players next week when Eric DeCosta sort of has done the homework, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Look, they've got scouts, they've got people watching, they've got people reading, they got people interviewing, they got people examining. Every player goes through a litany of scrutiny. You know it better than I do. And they still miss on what percentage of the picks do they miss on? I don't know the number. I'm
across
sure
the league, it's got to be the 30 to 40% range for what they thought they were getting versus what they wanted to get, right?
Right, but I'm saying how many draft picks end up successful NFL players.
Well, look, we've had the
most.
this is a good sports question because we haven't talked a lot of sports here, Leonard. But we've drafted 25 times, right? And we've had 25 first-round draft picks, let's just say. I mean, forget, Courtney Upshaw or, Dwan Edwards, who's my Facebook friend, and a second-round pick. But just first-round picks, all of them in totality. There have been number 4 overalls with John Ogden or Bull. There have been a whole hell of a lot more 31s and 32s and Todd Heaps and 26s and Ray Lewis's and Ed Reed's. If you go through 25 of them, how many of them were busts? How many of them were, bronze, silver, gold? And, and they're the best in the business, right? They're the best in the business.
How many of those are gold jackets? How many of those are gold jackets in the first round?
Well, I mean, Reed, Lewis, Ogden, let's start with that, right? I mean, maybe probably not. Yonder wasn't a first rounder, right? But
if you got 5, let's say you got 5 in 25 years.
Well,
and
but that's not 25 picks. That's 250 picks or whatever it would have been.
No, I get it. But my point is, with all, it's just what we're saying, with all the research that goes into that, they're right. They get top of the top 20% of the time, maybe.
And they didn't think Ed Reed was going to the Hall of Fame when they drafted him. They didn't think Ray Lewis was going to the Hall of Fame. Because if they were going to the Hall of Fame, they wouldn't have been there.
If they thought Ray Lewis was going to the Hall of Fame, they wouldn't have picked Ogden first.
Right, exactly. but to your point, even the best, Matt Elam, Brashad Perryman, obviously, Travis Taylor didn't work out to be what they thought he was going to be. Jamal Lewis had an injury and still wound up being a hell of a player,
Right.
And some were, Joe Flacco. Come on. We won a Super Bowl MVP quarterback. And he's maligned, at this point. Terrell Suggs probably going to the Hall of Fame, right? I forgot about him.
I would agree.
Oh, he's easy to forget.
And Marshall could end up there again, not a first-round pick, but he could end up there. But this is the point we're making. Out of 25 first rounds,
they still had a couple of clunkers, right?
Out of 250, let's say, total picks or however many they have, they got 5 Hall of Famers. And if you try to pick stocks out of the S&P 500, let's just say you pick large U.S. companies, you might pick 5 that are winners in your portfolio for 10 years if you keep them that long, but it's not likely. People don't hold stocks. People don't pick good stocks. People pick on emotion. They all sold last week or 2 weeks ago. Not all, but people are scared. It's an emotional game, and with all the best research in the world, you might pick 10%, and most people don't do any good research. They look on the internet or they see a company they bought something from that they love, and they say, this is what I'm going to invest in. So one of the things we do is talk to people about how to structure a portfolio. That's our this week's webinar is how to structure a portfolio. Find us out there on Facebook, Raskin Global, and you'll see the information about logging into this week's webinar. And look there every week. You'll see one just about every week that we've got going on some subject or another that matters to your money, and that's what we're here to talk about.
Well, hey, I always appreciate you and the insights and, talking about markets and disruption and all that stuff. And we will be disrupted on Thursday and Friday and Saturday. My wife has been hankering some good chicken wings, so we're going through some recipes here. We're ordering up the beer and the nachos, and we're getting the hatch salsa ready and doing it all up because if we're going to do an NFL draft, the only thing I have on my whole life calendar, literally, no planes, no trains, no automobiles, no trips, a few Zoom meetings and some great conversations for content like this and putting some planning together for things I want to do with the rest of my life. I'm going to stop and watch the football draft next week, and I think we should all work up some sort of a menu and share it. We don't get much, but we're going to get to pick football players next week.
I think they're going to pick WNBA players this week.
Oh, jeez. Here we go. You're going to snooker me into that now, are you?
What's that?
You're going to snooker me into another draft, are you?
Friday night, WNBA. The ladies go live. You know what?
The baseball draft barely even happens in June. I wonder if they're having that. There's so much disruption, I can't keep up with it all, right? It just came to me the other day that Ticketmaster still has all my Pearl Jam and Rolling Stones money. That I'm like, how long are you going to keep my Rolling Stones money? The dudes are 80. You know what I'm saying?
Because Ticketmaster surely needs your money.
To
They
keep,
don't have any coin.
yeah,
They're not
to
making any
keep the
coin.
gerbils going, the hamsters going there in that machine.
It'll be their next class action suit against them for holding money too long.
And I'm sure I'll get $2.50 off the next time I want to go to Nissan Pavilion, right?
But
hey, man.
only if you log in online to buy the tickets and wait 7 hours to hopefully get a top row seat.
You know what? You must be a Wells Fargo. Oh, no, that's sorry, wrong thing. Wrong. I sort of compared that to buying Rolling Stones tickets. Hey, Leonard, I appreciate you and all you're doing to empower people to choose their financial future. Leonard Raskin has been my friend. I wear the shirt. I chew the mints. I even have the lip balm here. I thought that was coming back when it snowed on Tuesday night. But I do appreciate you as always, and we'll stay in touch and continue. Wash your hands. Stay safe. Get ready for the draft. All right, pal?
Amen, my friend. You do the same.
Leonard Raskin, Raskin Global, empowering people to choose their financial future. You can find me out in the bio at Toyota.com Audio Vault. Still buying and selling Toyotas. We're still trying to order some carry-out. I'm going to get over to State Fair and visit with Evan Brown and grab a bag of shrimp and grits and have my gloves and my mask and all the stuff that we're doing to stay socially distanced, but still try to support our friends and the community, local people, keeping calm, staying local. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and Baltimore Positive. We're like the dude. We're abiding.